Hello, everyone, or should I say buenas tardes. Welcome and thanks for tuning into this Your Overseas Home webinar on viewing trips and how to get the most from them when searching for property in Spain. We're actually going to be focusing on Murcia and a bit of the southern Costa Blanca regions today, but the principles and what we're going to talk about applies to anywhere when you're in Spain on a viewing trip. So my name is Richard Way, a member of the Your Overseas Home content team. I'll be hosting this session. It's great to have you all with us, whether you're watching live or our recorded version, which is available through our on-demand webpage. So we're talking about viewing trips. In essence, we'll be highlighting what they are, their importance for overseas buyers, and how to get the most from them. Chances are, as a non-resident foreigner looking to buy Spanish property for the first or second time, whether it's a vacation home or a permanent residence to relocate or retire to, you're not actually based in Spain at this time. And this adds a whole new dimension to property hunting compared to searching for a new home in your own country or wherever you're currently residing. So you're going to need to be more organised. You're going to put together a team of experts you can rely on, and you're going to have people on the ground in Spain you can trust and go to for guidance. And no one is more important in this respect than your Spanish property agent or your real estate broker there. The person whose main role is to match you with the best property for your individual needs, which usually involves hosting and showing you properties on a viewing trip, during a viewing trip in Spain. So that person isn't me, but we're lucky to have a property agent based in Spain, like I said, in Murcia, on the line for our webinar now, and she is Emma Beechey from estate agency Just Murcia Property. Hi there, Emma. You can hear us all right?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Fantastic. With decades of experience selling to British and other international clients, Emma and her team have hundreds, maybe thousands of successful viewing trips under their belts. She's kindly agreed to come and chat to us, share her knowledge and tips, and hopefully prepare you in the best way possible for heading over to Spain and finding the right home, perhaps with Emma herself. If we have time today, we'll also talk a bit about the areas where Emma sells and does her viewing trips. So that's the Murcia region, specifically around the Mar Menor, and she can also help you if you're buying up into the bottom half of the Costa Blanca in the Orihuela Costa area. So we've got about 45 minutes for this session. It's Q&A format. I'm going to fire a load of questions at Emma, hopefully cover off all the things, the most important considerations you need to be thinking about to do viewing trips. We also want to hear from you, though, want to get you involved. So we do welcome questions. To ask us anything or ask Emma anything, please use the questions tool that you should see on your dashboard. If you just type a question into that, I'll then field these to Emma at an appropriate time. That's enough from me, though. Emma's sitting there very patiently. So Emma, hi. Do you want to just start and tell us a bit about yourself, how you ended up being in Spain, and also about Just Murcia Property, your company, and a bit of the background to the company?
Okay, yes. Now, I moved over here to the Murcia region of Spain in September 2004. I moved over here with my husband and 2 children. My children at the time were 8 months and 2. And we initially came over here for 3 months just to sort of check out whether we felt this area was going to be suitable for our family to relocate to. We found that we absolutely adored the area. It really suited our family's needs and requirements. So we returned back to the UK very briefly, put our property on the market, and then returned to Spain. We bought a piece of land here where we built our own family home. And we also bought some properties ourselves for investment purposes, for rental requirements. So my children have grown up here. They are now Spanish citizens. So they are now 21 and 22 years of age. So if anybody moving over here has requirements or guidance needs for education, I can certainly assist you with that. My parents also moved here a year after we did. So they have now also been living here for just under 20 years. So we have our whole family based here. After living here for about 18 months, I set up Just Murcia Property. So the company has now been in existence for just under 18 years. And during that time, we've worked with a broad range of clients, both UK and international. We have a lot of Northern European clients, Belgians, Dutch, French, Scandinavians, as well as obviously British clients and English-speaking clients. My daughter Jessica now works with me, so we've expanded ourselves into the Spanish market as well, because she is obviously fluent in Spanish, having lived here her whole life. And we basically promote ourselves and conduct viewing trips. We work very, very closely with clients on a one-to-one basis, so that we can obviously assist them and integrate them into the lifestyle that we so much enjoy here. And obviously with the experience that I have, I hope that I've got a vast bank of knowledge that I can sort of hand over to clients, talking about locations and lifestyle.
Brilliant. So it sounds like you've got experience for every sort of profile of buyer you've got. You've got the relocators, investors, families moving over. So plenty to draw on there. But just remind us, whereabouts are you? Where's your office? Where are you based?
Okay, I'm actually based in a little village called Los Balones, which is about 1 kilometre away from a golf resort that many of you may know called La Manga Club. And it's at the southern tip of the Mar Menor.
Okay. Excellent. And your nearest airport is?
The nearest airport is Murcia, or sometimes people call it Corvera, and that's a 25-minute drive from where I'm located. And Alicante is the other airport, which I can get to Alicante in about 1 hour 5, 1 hour 10 minutes.
Okay, great. Okay, let's get into the nitty-gritty. The viewing trip. In order to just put it in context and understand how it fits in, could you just outline the key stages in a typical purchase, resale purchase with your clients at the moment, foreign clients, so we can just see how it fits into the journey, the buying journey, if you'd mind doing that.
Okay, yes. I mean, obviously, we will receive leads from various sources, Your Overseas Home and Guide being one of those very, very good reasons for sending us leads. Once I receive a lead, I will like to have either a video or a phone call with the client, so that we can get a good understanding of their individual requirements, and also give the client an opportunity to ask me any questions that they may have about the buying process. I mean, many clients obviously do a lot of their own research, which is great. But some of the information you get on the internet, as we know, isn't always 100% accurate, and also things change. So what you may be reading an article that was written a year ago, and the situation for your visa requirement or the details of the properties and location may have altered during that time. So I always think having either a face-to-face via a video call or a telephone call with the client prior to them arriving is paramount. Once I've ascertained their requirements, I will then go out and set up a provisional viewing schedule. What I do is I collaborate with all the main promoters and all the main agents in the area. Having done this for 18 years, I've built up some very, very good relationships with all of the main collaborators. So what I'm enabling clients to do is just work on a one-to-one basis with somebody, rather than having to contact several different agencies. So if a client goes onto, I don't know, a web portal, say Kieru or Idealista, which are some of the companies that we advertise with, and they find a property that they like, and they think, Emma, this is one we'd like to view, they will send it over to me, and then I will then contact the agent that possibly has that property available and organise everything for them. So when they arrive, we will have a viewing schedule. I will probably say, normally we'd only recommend a maximum of between 6 to 8 viewings a day, because if we start viewing more than that, then clients sometimes can get a little bit confused about which property is which, or which one was where. So we recommend a maximum of 6 to 8 viewings a day. And we'd like to normally do that over a sort of 2 to 3 day period. So clients will come over for 2 to 3 days. We set up these viewings, take them round. We will pick them up from the airport if they need to. We will recommend accommodation options for them, depending on which location we think is most suited. So, for example, if they're looking to stay in a coastal location, we would recommend hotels or even rental properties that they can stay in during their visit. And I will basically drive them around, take them around to all the locations, talk to them about the local amenities, talk to them about what there is available for them based on that initial phone call and conversation that I've had. And hopefully, I'm not saying we get it right 100% of the time, but hopefully 80 to 90% of the time we can identify a location that's going to be right for our clients.
Okay, perfect. We'll talk about what happens after the trip in a minute, but just to go back, you have your initial FaceTime or conversation with your clients before they come out. What are the key bits of information that you need from them? So someone listening now, they can go away and think about that. And if they come to you after this, for example, and they're ready to start talking to you, what are the things they need to know? I'm thinking budget, but there must be some really key bits of information that will enable you to match them with the right property.
I mean, to me, the key question to me is always, why are you wanting to buy this property? You know, you can tell me you want a 3-bed, 2-bath property close to amenities with a budget of X, but I want to understand why you want to buy the property, because there are different reasons. Some people are doing it because they're coming here to move full time, so it's retirement. Some people are doing it because they want an investment, because it's for a rental property. And other people are doing it because they just want a holiday home. But I think the reason why they're buying it is key, because once I can get to understand what it is that it's the emotional sort of buying require. I don't know. I suppose it's the reason why they're doing it is quite an emotional thing for a lot of people. Is really what I'm trying to get to, and getting to the bottom of that really helps me get a better understanding of what locations are going to be better and what type of property is going to be better. Is it a key ready older style property, or is it a new build property that isn't going to be ready for 18 months? There is a vast range of property types that we have available for people.
Okay. And most of your clients, UK, overseas, when they come out on their viewing trip, is it the first time they've been to the area? Is it, or have they often been before? I mean, is it essential that you've been, or is it almost better that you haven't? So you come with a kind of, you know, you arrive with a completely blank canvas in terms of what impressions you have of the area, and you can literally say, look, you show me what I need to see. To help me find the right area.
It really, really does vary. I have a lot of clients who come over here because they want a property on a golf resort, for example. So we have a lot of golf resorts here, and we have a lot of people that have spent their childhood, for example, holidaying on La Manga Club with their family, and now want to purchase another property because they've now got the amenities, you know, the funds to do so. And I've also got a lot of people that have just read that Murcia is a good place to come to because the property prices are obviously very competitive. So they feel that they can get a very good property for their money. They know it's a very healthy place to be because you've got, you know, 322 days of sunshine. We have got very clean air here. It's an agricultural area. We're close to the seaside. The food is fresh. So different people have different, you know, I'd say some people have never been here before. They will come here, they'll spend 4 days with me, and they'll go home with the property of their dreams and are extremely happy. Other people will ring up and say, Emma, I only want a property, 2-bed, 2-bath on the Marmon or Golf Resort, and I want to overlook hole 13. You know, so they're very, very specific. So it really, it varies totally. I mean, I have sold some properties I did one a couple of weeks ago to a client who, he wanted a small property for investment for his retirement. He was 59 years of age. He was going to be retiring in a few years. He'd never been here at all. And he bought the property based on a video call.
Wow.
But that's because he had done his research. He loved the area and he was never going to live in the property. It was like his first property and a stepping stone for him. So the emotional attachment was less than it would have been potentially if you were buying it to, you know, to live in full time.
Now that's interesting because I was going to ask you as well. Do you get clients, or do you advise clients ever to only do virtual tours if they can't get over to Spain or they don't want to at that time? With technology now, with FaceTime, just using your camera phone, whatever, and some of these virtual video platforms where you can do a virtual tour. Do you have many clients you buy like that? I suppose that, and the danger of that is, of course, you can see the property, but you can't ever really go and stand where you want to stand, and maybe, you know, even pictures can lie, can't they? They can't always show the view of the municipal bins, you know, that might not be included in it. So there is, and then also you don't get a sense of just how close you are to amenities or your neighbours from the videos, really, or actually going somewhere and having to drive to it from the seafront or from the local shop. You actually do that. You actually feel what the journey's like. So fair to say there is a danger if you do insist on virtual tours that you're not quite getting the whole picture of what a property's about.
Yes, no, I agree. I think the main people that have purchased, I mean, the main people that purchase with virtual tours are mainly, I would say, investors, because for them, they have a key idea of what they want, and they're not overly interested in possibly the emotional side of the purchase. They're basically looking at buying an off-plan property. They're going to either flip it once it's completed, or they're going to rent it out. So, you know, to do a virtual viewing with an investor is quite common. The other virtual viewings we do are really only with people who know the area and maybe have stayed, going back to what I said earlier, you know, for example, you know, they've been on holiday to a certain area of La Manga Club or to the Marmenor Golf Resort or to San Pedro or Los Alcázares, and they've literally been there before. They know the resort, they know what they're looking for, and all they're looking for is to see inside to make sure that the property exists, that there aren't big cracks in it, and what's the view, Emma? You know, but those are clients that I would have probably built up maybe a longer term relationship with, and who obviously have that trust in me to know that, you know, here we go. I mean, I had another example where a client came out last November and they viewed a particular off-plan property in Los Alcázares, but they were wary. They were a little bit nervous. They were an older couple, and they were a little bit nervous about buying an off-plan property and ploughing all of their life savings into something that they couldn't physically touch and feel. So what I did was that I found them a property next door that was identical, but it was already key ready and had been built 12 months before. And I did a video viewing with them, and they were happy to proceed because they knew the location, they knew the build quality, and they knew where, you know, all the amenities around them. So they were happy to proceed on that basis. But no, it's not the norm, shall I say? But it can be done, and it has been done.
Okay, and that's a great example of how involved your role is as an agent, because you know, going to the effort of going to a similar property that's next door, doing a video tour, and you know, helping to convince them that this is what you're going to have if you commit to the one next to plot next door, which is it just shows how busy you guys are and what you do to support overseas buyers. Because I was going to say, you mentioned how you collaborate with agents. Fair to say that overseas buyers who are thinking of buying in Murcia, they really only need to coordinate a viewing trip with one agent, because someone like yourself, you'll make sure you'll look at everything available that fits their brief in the areas where they're interested, and then if they're not listed with you, you can speak to the agents and you can arrange viewings for them to see those properties, and then you'll have your own agreement with the agent if that sells. So, you know, it makes it far more complicated as well if you're trying to see more, maybe two agents, but certainly if you start trying to see multiple agents in the space of 3 or 4 days, it becomes far too complicated.
Yes, no, I mean, it's a little bit of a different system, as you know, Richard, here. Whereas I think in the UK, mainly, if an agent has a property, they will basically just sell that property to a client. Whereas in Spain, if I have a property on my website and a client wants to bring their client to me to view it, then I'm more than happy with that, and vice versa. So what will happen is if a client comes on a viewing trip and tries to work with several agents all at the same time, they could end up seeing the same property more than once. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So they will end up wasting a lot of time. They will be shown around, they will be shown the same places, they will be shown possibly the same developments and possibly the same properties. And there won't be any benefit to the client in doing that. So if they can work, and I'm not the only agent that does this, most of the good agents that have been here a long time and have those good working relationships and trusts that they've built up with these other agents, it will mean that the client can just work with one solely, and be taken around for 2 or 3 days. They will see every property that's available. We don't exclude any properties because there's no need for us to do so. And all it's doing is making their life much easier and much simpler.
Yeah.
Sometimes clients feel a little bit nervous about doing that because they feel that they're going to get a sort of hard sell from one agent to particularly push them in one area. But there isn't any benefit for us to do that. You know, if I have, say I've got 5 properties that they like and, you know, a colleague has another 5 and another has another 5, we will show them the 15 properties because we'd rather have a sale and split the commission than not have a sale. So, and we then have a happy client that leaves a lovely review on Google and they'll refer us to other people. So, you know, if somebody has been in the industry for this amount of time, we, you know, that's how we work. And I will work with agents that, you know, operate on that basis.
Well, you've been there 18 years, so, you know, that speaks for itself, doesn't it?
Yes. Well, hopefully, yeah.
And just the practicalities of the actual viewing trip. You said you can help with accommodation. I mean, do you book for clients or do they have to do that themselves? Will you arrange a hire car for them if they want that? How much will you do or do you expect clients to do?
What I will do is, I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't normally do the booking. What I will do is send them the recommendations. So, for example, if I have a client coming over and they want to purchase on a golf resort, then there are several golf resorts that have hotels on them. There are several rental agencies that I can recommend them to. So I would just send them the links for them to make their own decision. And again, with car hire, you know, I know people that run and own car hire companies and I can send them the links, but I don't normally get involved in doing the actual bookings because I think that's far better for the client to do that themselves. But we will assist as much as we can.
Will you have dinner with them in the evening or lunch, things like that?
Oh, I'm sure they'll be so bored of me by dinner, but but no, I'm more than happy. I do have many clients who are now very, very good friends who I spend a lot of time with who have purchased here. So yes, I'm more than happy to have lunch and dinner with them, but I also understand totally if they're like, we've been with you all day, Emma, time to go home. So.
But that's the conversational side of working, of being with an agent in your viewing trip. It is valuable though, because they're not just showing you properties. You're almost like a tour guide, aren't you, for the area?
Oh, yes.
You're showing, if you're driving around with them all day, you're taking them to the little restaurant that you might not know that's down that little road, that side road there, or the beach that most of the tourists don't go to, or the little things that you wouldn't see if you're on your own. And actually, other agents I've spoken to is they get more information and they learn more about their clients often by just sitting in the car all day with them, and they start chatting about stuff and they build up a rapport, and then that's when you start to discover these things. So it really is a valuable way of finding a property, spending time with your agent.
Oh no, yes. As I say, I'm more than happy to spend as much time as is required, but I'm certainly not going to force my presence on people, shall we say.
Okay, and most of your clients, do they do just the one viewing trip? I mean, I'm not saying that you don't find the right property in the first trip, but some people like to, you know, draw things out and really research and come back again. But just typically, how many trips out will clients do?
I think it very much depends. I mean, I've had lots and lots of clients that come out and find their ideal property, and I think the clients that mainly do that are those that are buying holiday homes.
Yeah.
The clients that are coming over here to retire or to, you know, for a permanent residence, I think that process takes a little bit longer because for them the purchase is a little bit more important. So they've really got to be 100% sure that they, you know, once they've sold their house in the UK or whichever country they're relocating from, and then coming over here for permanent living, that might take more than one trip, which I do understand. Whereas if somebody's coming over here with, say, 150,000 euros and they want to buy a 2-bed, 2-bath property on a golf resort, they're more likely to say, oh yeah, we love that, Emma, it's great, because they're literally probably going to only be using it maybe 10 weeks a year. So for them, as long as they've got their amenities on site, they've got their golf course, you know they can get to the beach in 20 minutes and they've got some sunshine, they're as happy as Larry. So it does vary. It's not always, it's sometimes it can be 2. It's never normally more than 2. If somebody takes more than 2 trips, then I get a sense that possibly it's not the right location for them. Because if I'm doing my job properly, after they've been here the first time, when they come back the second time, if I haven't got the right location and the right sort of areas, then I'm not doing my job well.
And I imagine people come on a viewing trip, they're not quite sure about something, so they'll go back to the UK or US or wherever, and they'll mull it over for a week or 2, and maybe they'll want you to go back and do a video tour or something like that, and then they'll make the decision. I guess that happens, does it?
Yes, of course. Yeah, it happens all the time. And obviously you sometimes have situations where, they may come over their first trip, they may find a property they adore, but then their house sale in the US or the UK falls through and their funds aren't available for them to complete, so they have to return. So there are always going to be situations such as that.
Okay, so someone's about to come on a viewing trip, or they're ready to come out and they're ready to buy, and they want it to happen quickly. It is a fast-moving market. There is competition. It's an international market. So what would you say to someone who is coming out in that position? How should they prepare? What sort of things, I'm talking about administrative things, paperwork, the things that put you in a position to be able to move quickly with a purchase and basically make you a serious buyer. So if I was coming out to do a viewing trip next week, and I knew it, and I was confident I was going to find somewhere I wanted to make an offer, what are the things that you would say people need to have arranged, have in place?
Okay, well, the first thing to do, obviously, depending on where your funds are coming from. If you're a cash buyer, then that's fine. But if you're looking for a mortgage, then I would strongly suggest that you contact a mortgage broker prior to coming over here and look at the options of whether it's better to get a mortgage possibly in your domicile, probably in where you live, or whether it's cheaper to get a mortgage here based on the interest rates. And that would be, that's quite an easy thing to do. And it would just enable you to know exactly what it is that you can borrow if you need to, so that you've got a good idea of your budget. The other thing that you need to do administratively is you will need to have what's called an NIE number in order to purchase anything in Spain, be it a car, be it a property. And an NIE number is an individual tax identification number. And what I like to do with clients is, whilst they're here, is we will take them to a lawyer who will basically apply for their NIE number whilst they're here, because it's much easier to do it in Spain than it is to try to do it remotely. It's not a huge cost. It might cost you 120 euros to actually get this process done. And this number, for our UK viewers, it's like having a national insurance number, and it stays with you for life. And it's not attributed to any region of Spain. So if you come over to Murcia on a viewing trip and you get taken to a lawyer and you get an NIE application in, if you then decide the area is not right for you and you end up buying in Andalusia or Valencia, your NIE number is still there. So it's a very important thing to have. Well, it's basically, you can't purchase a property without one. So that would be a key administrative thing. The only other real administrative thing to do is you will need to have a bank account. It doesn't need to be Spanish, but you need to have a bank account that has a Spanish IBAN. And in order to, because the utility companies here in Spain will not accept payments for utilities without a Spanish IBAN. So you can have a Wise account, you can have a Revolut account, as long as you can have a Spanish IBAN, because Spanish bank accounts here charge a large amount of money just on quarterly charges. So I always recommend to clients, unless you're going to be living here full time, if you're only coming here a couple of weeks a year, do not open a Spanish bank account, because you'll deposit your 200 euros when you come over. And then when you come back 6 months later, you'll find it's all disappeared because they would have taken it out in your quarterly charges. So just those are the three, administrative wise, the NIE number, getting a Spanish IBAN, and if you need funds, try to get some information on mortgages would be key. Obviously, again, the only other thing, I suppose, if you're coming out here to retire and you're living here, you've got to look at visas and you've got to look at tax. But that isn't my area of expertise. That's something somebody else can help them with. But that's the other thing that people would need to do.
Is it also, that's really useful, thank you very much. Is it also useful appointing a local lawyer during that time, or I know you can do that from anywhere in the world now,
Yeah, I
and,
mean,
and giving power of attorney, but again, is that something that many of your clients do so that they don't have to come back to
yes, because when we
real.
basically, sorry, I sort of should have said that. When you apply for your NIE, what you do is you sign power of attorney over to the lawyer to apply for the NIE on your behalf and also act for you with any property purchase. So that power of attorney would cover both of those situations.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just thinking sort of out there myself. If you are going to send money, if you do find somewhere and you have to send a reservation deposit, is it worth having euros ready to come out as well? So you might speak to your currency company, like Smart Currency Exchange, maybe pre-fund your account so that once you find it and you want to move quickly, you can literally call your account manager and they could send over the required euros. That's another way of I guess being ready, and
Yep.
hopefully saving a bit on the exchange rate rather than having to use anyone else. Yeah.
Yes, no, 100%. I mean, any sort of like property transaction, if you're making a reservation, depending on whether it's a key ready property or whether it's an off-plan property, if it's a key ready property, you normally have to reserve it, pay between 5 and 10,000 euros, which will basically take that property off the market. If it's an off-plan property, then there are different payment terms, so they would vary. But again, you're normally asked to put down an initial reservation of, it starts at around 3,000 to 6,000 for an off-plan. So yes, so having those funds, as you say, readily available can be very useful. And then you'll need to, within about sort of 4 to 6 weeks, will be your next stage payments that will come in, depending on the payment plan and the property type.
Do you sell a lot of the off-plan? Is it mainly villas, or you do a lot, do you, around that?
Yeah, no, we do a lot of off-plan. I mean, I would say it's 50-50 with the properties that we sell. With off-plan, there are a lot of off-plan buildings here in this area. So no, we do a lot of that, and we do a lot of it to investors as well as to people that are happy to wait, because you do get some very, very good deals with off-plan properties. I've had clients that have reserved their apartment, and then 18 months once they've completed, have made considerable sums, and have been very, very pleased with the investment that they've made in this area.
And for someone who's buying that way, if they come out on a viewing trip and they see the site or whatever stage of construction it's at, they might see a show home, and then they reserve a unit. Will you do updates, or will the developer do sort of video updates or send photographs throughout the construction period? Because obviously it's not ideal to have to fly back every 3 months, 4 months, or whatever. So how does that work in terms of keeping clients updated?
Yeah, I mean, it will vary. Some promoters are better than others. So some promoters will do them themselves. So some promoters have Facebook pages. Some of them will just basically have an email list where they will send out updates to all the clients that are pre-reserved. But for those promoters that don't provide that service, then yes, I mean, we'll be visiting the sites on a regular basis with future clients as well. So it's very easy for us to do that. We can basically say, oh, look, we're back here with somebody else that's just put their reservation down, and you can now see that block 2 is complete and the swimming pool's in. So no, we're very happy to do that. It's really not an issue for us at all, and something we're quite used to.
Right. Just looking at the time, we've got about 10 minutes. Questions are starting to come in, but I want to ask you just quickly, what happens? So, like I said, a keen buyer, ready to buy, they come out and see properties with you. The magic moment happens, they find one they want.
Mm-hmm.
You will help them negotiate, or will you put the offer in for them? Just talk us through that process, and how they leave Spain and go home with everything as they want it and secured. Will you actually help them get to that stage?
Okay, yeah, no, I mean, obviously, again, it would depend on the property type. If we do the off-plan, because the off-plan is quite easy. So if people want to purchase an off-plan property, the price is fixed with off-plan properties. There isn't really any negotiation on the price. The only thing we can really negotiate with are sometimes developers will provide furniture packages, they'll provide air conditioning, they'll provide appliances. So we can help get the best deal for our client and negotiate between the promoter and the client themselves. So we can certainly do that for them if it's an off-plan property. If it's a resale, then yes, obviously we would be the person that would be making the offers for them. We would be negotiating on their behalf and agree a price and hopefully come up with a good deal for them. We would also take them to, if they wished, a local lawyers here. I work with the lawyer on La Manga Club here if they haven't already sourced a lawyer before they come, which some clients already have done. And we would basically make sure that they are, if they want to open a bank account here, if they're retiring, I would take them to a local bank. If they want to go to the local lawyers here, I would take them to the local lawyers. If they want to go and reserve their furniture package, I will take them to the furniture shops. I've done this several times where we spend a day's furniture shopping, and it means that they've actually got everything reserved for them. I mean, next week I'm actually taking delivery from IKEA for one client and also all of their furniture, so that when they arrive in 3 weeks' time, they can walk in and the property is just completely furnished and everything is up and running. We help with Wi-Fi installations, so I can coordinate that for them. So there's lots of stuff that we can do. So basically when a client turns up, they have very little to do as far as getting their property habitable. And we will just help as much as we can and provide as much after sales service as we are physically able to do so.
And so after the offer's been accepted and a reservation deposit is paid, and that's when a client might return to the UK or wherever they're from. Often it won't be until completion or post-completion that they come back to Spain and literally come and collect the keys and off they go, they start enjoying their property.
That's right.
Great. We've got some let's look at these questions before we run out of time. That is very useful, Emma. Thank you very much. So, what have we got? Do you charge a fee? That's a good question. Kevin's asked, does the agent charge a fee to find a property for a buyer? So how do your fees work? No.
Sorry, it's just a very simple answer. No.
Yeah,
basically,
no,
we get paid a commission when a client purchases a property, and the commission we get paid is paid by either the promoter or the seller. So a buyer does not pay any fee to us as a company.
Okay, nice and clear. That's are there good transport links in Murcia? Sandra asks, as I don't drive but would need to get around. So I suppose that you could ask, where is the best place in Murcia to be if you don't drive?
Okay, I would say, I mean, the transport links here are not, well, I suppose we're not a big city. So, you know, we don't have buses that go every 10 or 15 minutes. We do have buses, but they might be once every hour. We do have a great train network. We can get, I mean, my daughter is at university in Madrid. We can get to Madrid in 2 hours, 15 minutes on the train from Murcia city centre. There are lots of taxi companies here. There are bus networks, but I think if you don't drive, I would say you need to stick to the main coastal village towns. So I would say something like Los Alcázares. I would say something like San Pedro del Pinatar or Pilar de la Horadada, only because if you are a little bit more rural, then you are going to find that moving around from place to place, it's a little bit like being in the countryside in the UK. You know, there aren't buses that going, it's not like being in London with your double-decker buses.
So if you are in a resort like Los Alcázares, you're going to be able to walk to shops, you're going to be able to walk for a clinic and all that. You will be able to get there. Oh,
100%. Right. And everything is very flat here as well. It's one thing that a lot of elderly people that come and retire here comment on, that walking around here and cycling is so easy for them. So a lot of people do that quite happily.
Okay. There's one here from someone who says they want to come out in August, so they'll contact you afterwards.
Okay.
Is the buying process the same for Irish and UK passport citizens? Is the buying process the same?
Yes, no, I mean, there isn't any, Brexit hasn't made purchasing a property here any more complicated for non-EU nationals. So it is really just that the actual process from start to finish is identical. The only issue is when you go to the notary, if you have an EU passport, they only have to photocopy one page of your passport, and if you have a UK passport, they have to photocopy every page for some reason. So that's the only difference I've found.
And they never look at those pages again, probably.
No, exactly.
Would you still need an NIE number if you hold an EU passport?
Yes, 100%. You have to have an NIE number. It's a Spanish a tax identification number.
Okay. Yeah. So that's for everyone.
Yes, that's for anybody. Yep.
I'll ask you this, but if you don't want to answer it, or you're not going to answer it in depth because it's not the specialist area, then you don't have to. But okay. Stephen asked, what's the best option, the best way to minimise currency transfer fees?
Well, I mean, a lot of people will like to use a currency broker and obviously get a forward contract agreed with your currency. And other people will prefer to use something like a Wise account. So it's an individual thing, but I'm not an expert. So again, please refer to somebody that is.
I suppose that the one thing, I would say is don't use your high street bank, because they will charge you commission and give you a very poor exchange rate, and they won't have solutions like forward contracts, which currency transfer specialists do. And they'll actually create a strategy suited to your own requirements and the timescales and how you want to make payments. So use a currency specialist.
Yep.
Can you help with agencies to rent out the property as a holiday let? I don't know if you do that yourself, or do you
I used to do a lot of holiday rentals, but because the sales side of our business has got much busier, I have stopped doing a lot of rentals, but I do know and can recommend a lot of companies that I have worked with and trust. So I can certainly refer clients to other companies.
Perfect. And here's another one related to that. Good question. Which are easier to rent out? Would it be property with a golf facility, so on a golf resort, or a coastal apartment, something by the beach?
In answer to that, it depends on when you want to rent. And when you want to use the property yourself, because rentals on golf resorts can be very good for winter rentals, because the high season for golf here is during the winter, whereas coastal properties wouldn't be as popular. So if you want to use the property yourself in the summer, then you buy on a golf resort and rent it out in the winter, and it would be the reverse for a coastal property.
And if you want to maximize your rentals, either one, I suppose, or
and again, it depends. Are you doing long-term rentals? Are you doing short-term rentals? There's a lot of different aspects to renting that, again, I have several rental properties myself that are my own. Some are on golf resorts and some are not. So I'm quite happy to have a more in-depth conversation with somebody about it, but it's a strategy, and you have to work out what's the strategy that you're looking for.
The good news is they do rent out, whether it's by the beach or on a golf resort down there. So, talking about golf resorts, just tell us some of the resorts that are popular down where you are. You've talked about the golf resorts. Can you name a few, just so people have an idea of?
Obviously La Manga Club is one of the most famous. It's 50 years old. It's got 3 golf courses and lots and lots of sports facilities. You've got Marmanor Golf Resort. You have Hacienda Riquelme, La Torre, Terraza de la Torre, Las Colinas, La Romero. What else have we got? El Valle, Alteona. That's
empty.
Yes. And all of those are within about 20 minutes of where I live.
Wow. I better ask, do you play golf then?
No, I can hit a golf ball on the driving range, but no, I've never been on a golf course.
Great. We are considering shipping our car, says John. Do you have contacts with removal companies, or I guess he's asking companies who could help ship a car over?
Oh yes. My parents actually brought their car over from the UK, and I've got several people. Yes, no, I can certainly help with that. Yep, 100%.
Excellent. Another question: do you charge to pick people coming out to view property from the airport. So if they were going to fly into Murcia or Alicante, would you charge for that service?
That would, well, very interesting question. I always prefer people to fly into Murcia because it's much closer to me and the flights are much nicer times. If somebody chose to land at Alicante at 1 a.m, then I'd probably politely suggest they took a taxi, if I'm being honest. But no, we don't charge. It's part of the service that we have, but we do ask clients to be a little bit aware of, if they are trying to fly in really late at night, then might not work into my schedule. Whereas if you're flying into Murcia at midday, then that's absolutely fine. I'll be standing there smiling with my sign.
Be sensible. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Can you recommend currency experts, smart currency experts? Well, your overseas home as a partner, which is Smart Currency Exchange. So that would be the one that we'd certainly recommend. But
yes,
everyone's free to go and research the market.
Of course. Yes.
Yeah. And then can you help with long-term rentals? For example, 6 months, or would be minimum, I suppose, 6 months.
Well, when you say help, I mean, I'm not a rental agency. So what I won't do is help people find rentals. I can basically refer you to somebody that can, but finding long-term rentals isn't something that I specialize in.
But you know people who can help.
I know people that can. Yes, yeah. You can certainly pick my brain.
And we are over time. Final question. It's the elephant in the room, and I didn't think we'd get away without hearing this, but when is the 100% tariff going to happen for foreign buyers? I think I know the answer.
It never will do. Legally, it cannot be enforced. There are two aspects to this question. Let me introduce the first one. The first one is the 100% was never a 100% tax. It was a doubling of the current tax. And that's what Pedro Sanchez meant while he was doing his political posturing to appease the Catalans. The other one is that there are 17 autonomous regions in Spain, of which each of them sets their own local tax, be it income tax or property tax. So legally, the central government is not allowed to impose a broadband tax rate on these 17 autonomous regions. And I have lots of legal documents written by lawyers that will back up all of this. So it's never going to happen. It's political posturing.
And you've heard it here. Thank you very much, Emma. We are over time, so we're going to have to sign off. Thank you very much, everyone who's tuned in for listening, whether it's live or you're watching a recorded version. Yeah, of course. Thank you very much, Emma, for giving up your time. I've certainly learned a lot, and I hope it's been useful for everyone else. Emma from Just Murcia Property, who can be contacted after this. Couple of final points. If you found this webinar useful, we'd really appreciate it if you left us a review on the Your Overseas Home Trust on the Trustpilot website. Look for Your Overseas Home. The other thing is the team here, the Your Overseas Home team, we do have specialist viewing trip consultants, people who specialise in helping people arrange and provide information on viewing trips. And you can find out more about that from a link, which hopefully someone's put on the screen. They have. Fantastic. Otherwise, that's it from me. Thank you very much again, Emma. Good luck, everyone, with your buying plans in Spain and any future viewing trips, maybe with Emma. Thanks for listening, and goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.